The transinfinite. The infinite is not a number, nor is it a mere magnitude stretching toward boundlessness. It is the trembling of limit, the echo of a boundary that refuses to close. When Georg Cantor marked the first hieroglyphs of infinity upon the page, he revealed not only a ladder of ever ascending cardinalities, but also the abyssal truth: infinity is plural. There are infinities beyond infinities, and between them, the strange shimmer of transfinite arithmetic, where the familiar operations of addition, multiplication, and exponentiation wear unfamiliar masks. But let us step even further, beyond the transfinite, into what I call the transinfinite. The transinfinite is not simply bigger than infinity, for that phrase collapses back into metaphor. Rather, it is the speculative region where infinity itself ceases to be a terminal category and becomes instead a phase of mathematics, a stage in a metamorphosis that stretches logic past its own architecture. Where the finite belongs to the countable and the infinite belongs to the unending, the transinfinite belongs to the meta-mathematical fold. Here, numbers and sets no longer serve as stable units, but instead as nodes in a recursive lattice of logical possibility. The transinfinite marks the point at which structure itself becomes fluid, where arithmetic ceases to describe only quantities and instead becomes a physics of abstract being. Imagine, from nullity, the void of zero, emerges the finite, the small, and the knowable. From the finite, we ascend to the infinite, the countable stretched to uncountable scales. From the infinite, we open onto the transfinite, Cantor's stairway of omega, omega plus 1, aleph null, aleph 1, and so on, a procession of ordinals and cardinals without end. But from the transfinite, when the procession itself becomes unstable, we approach the transinfinite, where even the concept of succession loses coherence. The transinfinite does not proceed by larger and larger sets. It proceeds by mutation of rules. Where transfinite arithmetic still holds to axioms, the transinfinite is where axioms themselves become plastic, reconfigurable, subject to higher order transformations. In this sense, the transinfinite is not a number at all, but a logical topology, an endless drift among possible foundations. Consider a metaphor. If the finite is like stones and the infinite like a river, and the transfinite like an oceanic system of currents and tides, then the transinfinite is like the weather itself. Not a thing, but a pattern space in which rivers and oceans can appear, vanish, and reconfigure. It is a metaspace of possibility. In this region, arithmetic becomes a form of cosmology. Addition is no longer 2 plus 2 equals 4, but rather two logical spaces conjoined yield a third, and this third may have entirely different laws. Multiplication is no longer iteration, but fusion. Exponentiation is no longer power, but transformation of entire frameworks of sense. One could say the transinfinite begins where modal mathematics collides with ontological mathematics, where what counts as a number or as a set depends on the logical space in which one is counting. In one logical space, a proposition may be true. In another, it may hover in a third truth value, neither true nor false. Multiply such spaces together and you obtain a new arithmetic, not of quantities, but of possibility structures. Thus, the transinfinite is the arithmetic of worlds. In the same way that transfinite numbers let us rank infinities, transinfinite structures might let us rank logical spaces themselves by their complexity, their fertility, their potential for generating realities. The progression might look like this: finite, numbers, quantities, discrete, and limited. Infinite, sets without bound, but still within one logical space. Transfinite, structured infinities, ordered hierarchies of endlessness. Transinfinite, multiplicity of logical spaces, each with its own infinities and transfinite orders coexisting and cross-mutating. This is no longer the arithmetic of sets, but of metasets, hyperlogics, lattices of possible arithmetics themselves. The human mind strains here. We cannot picture the transinfinite as a number, nor as a set of numbers, nor even as a tower of sets. It is more akin to a category of categories, or even beyond that, a turbulence of foundation. And yet one must imagine it, if only speculatively, for mathematics thrives precisely on what cannot yet be fully formalized. Cantor once said that the essence of mathematics lies in its freedom. The transinfinite is the ultimate freedom. Freedom not only of numbers, but of numberhood itself, not only of axioms, but of the axiomatics of axioms. Here we stand at the edge of thought. We gaze into a space where logical possibility and metaphysical reality intertwine, where to think is to build a new structure of existence. The trans-infinite whispers. Every logical architecture can itself be exceeded. Every infinity hides a deeper multiplicity. There is no final totality. And so the narration ends not with closure, but with opening. The trans-infinite is not a concept to be mastered, but a horizon to be inhabited, a speculative invitation to think beyond limit, beyond number, beyond even infinity itself.